where you can set the narrative by taking that step and saying, enough's enough, I'm going to change. Today's going to be the day that alarm goes off, I'm going to get up. It may not work out for an hour, but maybe I'm going to walk around a block.
How do you define the word success? You may look up a generic definition, but the reality is only you can write your definition of success. Welcome to the Define Success Podcast, where we help guide you to better understand and achieve success in all areas of your life. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at definesuccess_pod and subscribe on any podcast platform so you never miss our Monday and Wednesday episodes every week. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Define Success Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Lupi. Thank you so much for joining me today and taking some time out of your day to learn and grow and get closer to being successful, because I know we are all after that in our lifetime and trying to get successful, whatever that looks like for you. Today, we're going to be looking closer into success with the financial aspect and how real estate can help you create more financial freedom and create more wealth for you and generations to come. If you are someone who is interested in becoming successful and you are interested in financial freedom and creating avenues of passive income that you can grow your wealth when you are not working, you probably came across some resources about real estate so far. You might be thinking of someone like Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki, people that have a proven track record in the real estate business and have taught people through podcasts, books, courses, etc. There are plenty of resources out there because real estate is a great avenue to create wealth. There's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved in real estate, whether it's buying a single family home, renting it out to tenants and collecting rent every single month, or you can scale it and start buying a quadplex and renting out to 4 different types of tenants. You can buy a 16-unit apartment building and rent to 16 different people, et cetera, all the way up to a ginormous apartment building with 400 plus units. The opportunities are limitless with real estate, and with real estate, the thing that stands out to me the most is land is never going to go away. You know, land is always going to go up in value over time because we can't get rid of it. We're always going to build. There are plenty of cities across the world. There are plenty of states across the country that people are moving into. They're moving to these high growth areas, whether it's in Texas, the Carolinas, Florida, Tennessee. They're getting out of California, New York, and finding opportunity elsewhere. There is a lot of opportunity around us. The housing market right now, some may think it's in a bubble. There's a lot of conflicting reports between what is happening with the real estate market and what is not. So before you take any actionable steps towards real estate, I would recommend doing your research, doing your own research, figuring out what is best. And I would definitely recommend listening to this podcast to get a good start on doing your research and finding out how to deal with the real estate industry, how to get started with it. So my encouragement to all of you, if you want to become financially free, is learn something about real estate. This podcast is a great start, and try to learn more about the process of getting involved and kind of changing your mindset about creating wealth in real estate. But you should not end there. Keep coming back for different resources on this podcast, or go elsewhere. Read books. Some books that I like about real estate is How to Create Wealth, Investing in Real Estate by Grant Cardone. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Rob Kiyosaki talks about real estate a lot because he is very, very invested in real estate. And there are plenty of online resources out there as well. So always learn, because real estate is a very, very viable option for you to create passive income. You can own a property. You can collect money from it on a monthly basis due to rent. And this gives you an opportunity to make money over time. And then when you want to sell the property, the expectation is that property will appreciate and you're going to get even more money back than you put in. So I hope you all enjoy this episode of the Define Success Podcast. We're going to be talking about real estate, but we're also going to be talking about mindset. Jason Yarusi, today's guest, owns over 1,100 real estate units across 6 different states. He has an empire in about the East Coast. He lives in Tennessee, so kind of going a little bit more inland than the East Coast, but he has properties everywhere, and he's collecting cash flow, and he's creating financial freedom for himself, for his family, and really learning the intricacies of the real estate market as he goes and develops more. So I hope you guys all appreciate and kind of soak in this information, but we also talk about his mindset. I encourage you all to check out his Instagram. After this podcast, he has a lot of great motivational content, but he's also very active in weightlifting and running. And he's always posting stuff about his workouts. So if you need a little bit of a, motivation, inspiration in the gym or with your finances, Jason is a great guest. So I hope you guys all enjoy this episode. I know I did, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it. So please enjoy this episode of the Define Success Podcast. Today's guest is a real estate investor who specializes in multifamily units. His extensive experience in the real estate industry has allowed him to launch Seven Figure Multifamily, a group that will provide you a roadmap to financial freedom. Outside of investing, he spends his time running, working out, raising children, and hosting the Multifamily Live podcast. Here to discuss his mindset and how to create wealth in real estate is Jason Yarusi. Jason, welcome to the Define Success Podcast.
It's like to be here, Matt. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it. Can you kind of give a background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So not a straight path, right? After school, actually went to New York City and did a bunch of different ventures and opened and ran some restaurants, sold a brewery at one point, ran a big bar there for a while. And that's where I ended up meeting my wife. And back, Hurricane Sandy happened, early 2010s, and my father had a construction business, which was really dialed into flood work. He had done this for decades. That business got extremely busy. At the time, my brother was working for us, for me on some of our restaurant and bar businesses. We ended up moving out to help Dad with his business. That was a great experience to work with the family business, but we were on a point where Peely and I were basically getting married soon. Peely was pregnant with our first kiddo, and we just knew that we had to find a way to just start setting a narrative for us and our time and just what we wanted to do with our life. And construction was great, but just like many jobs in life is that if you stop working, you don't get any income, nothing happens, right? So it's basically do to get. And so we were looking at the opportunities to really set the narrative for where we want to go and for how we can do it. And real estate became a constant conversation. So we logically thought the steps would be that we would go out there. Peely would get her real estate license to be an agent, and I would go out there and we start flipping, wholesaling houses. What we quickly discovered is that on top of the construction business, we had just basically gave ourselves 3, 4, or 5 more jobs. Right. And so it took us into that a few years for Peely to meet someone at a meetup where they were doing out-of-state rentals on a small level, single family homes. And we thought that was pretty interesting because we'd always been strong about managing teams, putting teams in positions to win. So we started doing that and it was great. But the issue we came up with is it wasn't scalable. It didn't give us the opportunity to go larger. So it was giving us short-term growth, but it wasn't exactly getting us to where we want to be. I met someone who was doing large apartment investing, and that was where the light went off because you could basically buy a building that wasn't performing, just like we had done with businesses before, make it perform, make it better, and everyone would win from that picture. So we sold off our smaller properties, went into large multifamily, basically all in, and went from those 2 and 3 units up to a 94 unit, our first purchase in 2017. And that's now led us to acquire about 13 buildings now, total of over 1,100 units throughout Southeast in about 6 states.
That's amazing. And I think what speaks to me most about your story and your experience right now is, although real estate is a passion of yours, it's where you build your financial freedom. It's not the end all be all. You're not just sitting at your desk all day looking for real estate deals. If you look at Jason's Instagram, he's always active. He's working out, running. He's run a lot, and his mindset is just different. He kind of combines success with different things, not just real estate. So let's start off with your mindset. It's very impressive. All the content you post. I love the different quotes and motivational pieces you have. What pushed you to strive for excellence in your body and your mind?
it just becomes a decision. When you get down to it, right? Lots of times we set the narrative for what we aren't, right? I'm not smart, and I can't be thin. I can't be successful. I can't do this. I can't do that, right? And we set our minds before we even give ourselves the opportunity to do it. And if you think about the path we had been on, right, we went from, working to 4, 5, 6 in the morning, right, with the businesses we were in, now to having a young family transitioning that's we had to change, right? That life had to change. We had to make the decision to change. And I found, now we have 3 little ones, is that we had to find a way to capture back our day. So many times in life, the track goes is that the alarm happens. You hit the snooze button, right? So you've already lost for the first time in the day. Now you're late. You get up. You're out of order. You're trying to rush through things, which of course blows up everything. You maybe get a bad email, or you eat something poor, or you stub your toe on the way out the door. You're rushing out to work. You get stuck in traffic. Now you're late for work. You get in there. It's fire after fire throughout the day, stuck in traffic on the way back home. Get to the end of the day. You watch Netflix. You say, man, this can't ever happen again. And the same thing repeats. And people allow their lives to continue to go like that, where you can set the narrative by taking that step and saying, enough's enough. I'm going to change. Today's going to be the day that alarm goes off. I'm going to get up. I may not work out for an hour, but maybe I'm going to walk around the block. Or, instead of having, something poor to eat in the morning, I'm going to have a glass of water. I'm going to eat a healthy meal today. Let me just start right there. And so you start doing these little changes here where you can start adapting yourself to what becomes you and the version of you. And for me, I found that I had to set the time to get up early. So at 4:32 a.m., basically 4, 3, 2, 1, I just get up. Once you're up, right? So I get up, have a big glass of water, go out there, have a coffee, meditate, go work out. By the time I come back from that, Peely and the kids are starting to get up. Peely can have some time for herself while I hang out with the kids. And then we'll get them off to their little activities in the daytime. And now we can get after things. Instead of the day catching us, we catch the day.
Before we go any further, I want to remind you guys about my partnership with Audible. Audible is an audio-based book app that you can download on your smartphone, on your laptop, and get audiobooks straight to your device. This is a great way to consume content while you're riding the bike, you're doing laundry, cooking a meal, or driving in the car. You can really optimize your time in these mindless activities while you're consuming great content. A book that really stood out to me as of recently that reminds me of Jason and his morning routine, his mindset, is Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog is the concept of doing the hardest thing first thing in the morning, and then that way you have more control over the rest of the day. I think you guys would all enjoy this book. If you are interested in reading Eat the Frog, I will give you the book for free. Go down to the link in my show notes for Audible. If you sign up for Audible, you get your first month for free. You can cancel at any time, no commitment, and you get one free book for the first month. So check it out. If there's a book that you want to really get into, now's the opportunity. Now back to the podcast. All right, Jason, you mentioned you wake up at 4:32. This is something that I find very important because I started waking up early about a year ago. I changed the time. First it was 5, then it was 4. And it, like you said, it's a way for you to attack the day and control your day early on. You do what's best for you before you get into the stress of other things. How has that changed your life? Because you said you get up, you meditate, you work out. What are the benefits that you've seen?
It becomes a point here where you start setting the narrative for your day, right? So many times in life, we let the day take control of us and it just doesn't go right. And most people live their lives caught in this stuck routine where the routine runs them, not them controlling themselves, right? And that puts them in a place where they never get to what they want because they're constantly trying to avoid what they have. But it's not painful enough that they'll take the steps to put themselves in a position to win. So I found I had to get up early, right? So I get up at 4:32 a.m., 4, 3, 2, 1. I get up and I set the narrative for me and my day. So a glass of water, a coffee, meditate, work out, and then I can have Peely. She can have some time while I'm with the kiddos who are just getting up. Now we both are in a position where when the difficulties come in the day, well, we've already won our morning, right? We've already put ourselves in the best place. We have a clear mind. We can go out there and operate in the best fashion. So when things come up that aren't perfect during the day, which they always will, we are now in the right position to tackle those for just what they are, passing moments, instead of allowing that to be subjectively what the entire day is.
absolutely. And this doesn't come naturally. It's not just you wake up one random day at 4:32 and you're like, hey, I'm just going to go do what's best for me. It starts with a commitment. And this is with any goal in life. You have to commit to going and exercising, going and buying your first real estate property. It starts with a choice, a decision, a commitment to make that change in life. How important is commitment when committing to your goals?
You have to set the narrative for yourself, but no one's going to come there and make you do it. And honestly, everybody's too busy with themselves to really worry if you are doing it. So you set that commitment with yourself, but most usually overdo it and fail right away and then can't keep on track, right? And that's why 95% of New Year's resolutions, if you make one, fail, right? Because you set this big lofty goal. You haven't worked out in 2 years. And this year, starting January 1st, some miraculous way, you're going to get up, run 7 miles today and lose 73 pounds, right? And so by January 2nd, you're back in the couch eating chips, right? Because you've set the narrative too big. Instead of setting achievable goals, you can win. So, okay, you want to run a marathon this year? Okay, so this first week, I need to walk around the block 4 times, right? And then now you've created an actionable step for you to accomplish tasks that can get you to your goal. And when you start doing this and committing and no longer, right? Because if you think about life, it's so silly, but we are harder on basically ourselves, right? Or so I'll actually take that back. We're harder on others than we are on ourselves, right? So if you expect something of somebody else, you're going to be very disappointed if they don't do it. However, you will constantly not do what you tell yourself you should do, and we can just be fine with that. Right. So today, I'm going to make that very important call, but you don't. Okay, maybe I'll get to it tomorrow. Today, I'm going to get up early. You don't. No big deal. No punishment there. Today, I will stop being late for things. Oh, I'm not. But if someone else is that, you'll put the pointer at them. For you, it's now getting back to us, ourselves, being responsible for ourselves, taking action and moving forward.
Yeah. And that applies for all goals. It's not just fitness. In your case, with 1,100 real estate units, over 1,100. Someone might be listening to this and thinking, I want to be where Jason's at. And they're thinking of the grand goal of having all of these units across 6 different states and having all the success in real estate, but they've never even bought their first property. They've never, walked a property or done the research on how to close a deal, whatever that may look like. So you might get caught up in, getting stressed out with how can I get to this ultimate goal when you never take the first step. So I think it's important to note that commitment goes across every single goal in life.
Hugely important just to look at a first actionable step, right? The goal is great, but it scares everybody away from the cliff, where you just have to look at the goal and say, okay, what's the first viable task I need to do today?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, you mentioned on an Instagram post before about getting 1% better, this idea of making this small change every single day, getting a little bit progressively better and leading to compound growth over a year, over a couple of years. And it could be one small thing. It could be, hey, if you wake up at 5 o'clock, wake up at 4:50. If you're drinking 8 glasses of water, drink 9, a little bit better every single day. How has that kind of spoken to you and helped you with your progressions?
The mentality is the commitment, right? Because then it just becomes something you do each day, because 1% compound, I believe, is like over 3,000% of gain over a year. But none of us are patient enough to allow that to happen, because today, I want to be 100% better, right? So you go and work out for a week and you're disappointed that you're not in shape. You go and start looking at real estate and you're disappointed that you don't find this great deal that's going to make you, $50,000 within 10 days, right? Because we lose patience with the effort and stop tracking the potential of where we're going. Right. And even with real estate or being in shape or any of these things, like, is this who you want to be? And if it is, then what's stopping you? But it's also the other side of it. Okay, so you do get that first real estate deal, or you do get in great shape. Well, does it just stop? It keeps going. You're going to have more life after that. There's more life to live. And we get stuck in this point that if I reach this point, I'll be good. But no, life doesn't stop. You continue to go. So how are you going to continue to evolve? How are you going to make this into your life and not say, oh, when I get to this point, things will be better. When I have more money or, meet that special person, things will be right. Well, you have to show up at that moment when you do to be that person so you can continue to be that person. And when we set the piece that, oh, this monumental moment will be me and that's it. Well, then that's when we lose track of how the commitments of the daily activities are really the most important part and not on the achievement of the goal. Because when you get to a certain level, like the goals are cool, but there's always like, what's next, right? So you get to a goal, but the goal is just, it's an accomplishment, right? So, oh, well, we wanted to have kids. So we had a kid. It wasn't like, okay, no, all said and done. Now we got these kids that we have to raise and show them how they can be great people in this world, help them learn, right? So that's like life, is that we achieve, like, think of the moment as the achievement instead of the moment as the stepping stone for where we want to go.
Yeah, that's a great lesson right there. Going back to fitness, you working out and part of this morning routine, how has pushing yourself in the gym and running helped you in other areas of life?
There's so many times that you just don't do stuff because, it might be hard, or just not point, or just it's uncomfortable. But when you just continue to just focus your mind to just do what needs to be done, right? If you tell yourself to do it. So I just get up every day and work out. Some days I'm sore, like I was telling you, I was traveling yesterday, I got home from Little Rock, got in bed at 11, right? After 11 hours traveling yesterday, and got up at 3 and worked out, right? It's not like perfect destiny. No, but it's what I told myself I'd do. So I did it, and it's done. Right. And that's most of the steps in life, is that we can always find something easier to do. But is that why you're not happy with where you are? Is there something you can do to condition yourself? So when I started running ultras, for marathons, which is, about a little over 26 miles, there's a training package where you can run, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And eventually you're running a 20-mile test race before you run the marathon. But if you're going to go out there and run a 100-mile race, there's not something where like a week before you're going to run like an 80-mile race as a test race. So I was like, okay, I don't know how to prepare for this. So I'm just going to run every day. If it's cold, if it's hot, if I'm tired, if I didn't sleep well, if I felt great, I just run every day. Because I'm conditioning myself that when the moment comes that I don't want to run during the 100-mile race, well, all I've told myself the entire time is every time I get up and run. And that allowed me to mentally prepare. And that's like most things in life. The 100-mile race was first 50 miles were my legs, last 50 miles were my mind. And that's basically the evolution of how we go through life, right? We can do more, but we can't do more if we can't get past our mind each and every day. Because our mind is going to give us the option, and the majority will say, oh, yeah, there's going to be a better time. But if you can condition yourself to say, no, right now, let's do this. Let's get to the next step here. You usually find that what you thought was scary, you wouldn't even think about 5 years from now, because it just end up being not too much of a big deal.
So in a ultra marathon, 100-mile race, you said the last 50 miles are your mindset. What kind of tactics do you have that push you? Because I'm sure you're hurt and you're sore, out of breath, and muscle fatigue is kicking in. What do you tell yourself to go that last 50 miles?
If you think about anything, right? Just like we were talking about before, these big goals and looking at the goal first. If I started that race and be like, okay, I'm going to go 100 miles, my mind would be like, well, you've never done that. So I guess you're not going to do that. Right. So you set actionable goals. So it was, okay, in the beginning, let's just get to the first mile, see what happens. Okay. Got there. Okay. Let's just get to the water station, aid station, right? See what happens. There are 5 miles. Let's do that again. 7 miles. Let's do that. 15 miles. Let's do that. 25 miles. Get to the point that I keep having an achievement that can be within reach. And it may change, right? So the destination, the goal may change. So after that 50 miles, it might be, okay, can I run 1,000 steps? Okay, I did that. Hey, can I run 500 steps? Okay, I did that. Can I just get to the bridge? Okay, I do that. Can I just get to the tree? Okay, I did that. Can I run 200 steps? Okay, I did that. And you turn around and all of a sudden it's 100 miles.
Yeah.
Because you've set points that you get to it and you say, well, okay, because you tell yourself, hey, if you just get there, then you can make the decision to quit. All right. So, okay, I got 200 feet. Okay. So, okay, well, see where we go for the next one. We'll just figure it out. Right. And you can do that in life and say, you know what? I'm not going to stop here. I'm just going to get to the next piece and see what I think then. And that carries you through to be actionable, to be objectable, to go after your goals, to go after your dreams, because you continue to just move yourself forward, even if it's just that little bit.
Yeah. Great advice there. Before we get into real estate, one last touch on fitness and running. You ran 2,500 miles in 2020. What was that experience like?
I didn't even know it was happening until I did. So it was more, I ran about 500 in 1 month. That was pretty much predestined, but the rest of it was basically just running every day.
Wow.
Right. And so just get up and do it, get up and do it, get up and do it. Right. And so you look back, say, okay, that added up to a lot. Right. But you think about compounding in life, right? You do something consistently, both in a good or bad way, and you could see how it can easily grow into something great or grow into something that can change you dramatically for the worse.
Awesome. All right, let's get into real estate because you have a lot of experience. I want to touch on how we can create wealth in real estate, achieving financial freedom. First off, how did you first get involved? How did you take that first step towards your career in real estate?
It was really just out of the construction business. We wanted to go out there and get active into real estate. So we thought what was logical, which you see the most, we found a house to flip. Right. And it was a house that was, weather torn from Hurricane Sandy, needed a lot of work. It actually needed to be raised, which was my dad's family, the family business that we did. So we incorporated a lot of things that we were already doing in the construction business and did that flip. But it just was another active thing in our life, going away from the destination of where we wanted to go. And that's why it led us to transition into multifamily housing, that we could more look at an operation to correct instead of being so hands-on project to project.
Awesome. What is your advice for someone to take that first step and get involved? Is it buying that single family apartment? Is it, flipping a house? What advice do you have for someone who wants to get involved, but might not know what direction to go?
Yeah. So honestly, I will not be able to answer that question for you. But the best point is there's so much available podcasts, just like this one here, that you can go out and learn about real estate. And if something piques your interest, see if you can go to a meetup, see if you can find someone in your network, see if you can find someone through social that's doing it. And you may not want to get a job, or they may not have a job for you, but maybe you can just pass over to what they're doing to the job site for an hour or two and see if it's even something that resonates for you. Right. Because if you can just get that little bit more dangerous, that can lead you to the next question. Because the first question out of the gate is, what do I do? Well, I don't know. What do you need to do? Right. But if you go surround yourself with someone, you'll find that next question. Oh, I saw this guy flipping a house. Oh, how'd you find this house? Oh, I found it through an agent. Okay. Maybe I have to go look up agents in the area. Right. And then that's that next question. Then you go to the agent. And what do you want for a house? You go, I don't know. Let me look up, the kind of houses in the area that maybe I want to flip. Right. And so you think about that piece of your real estate life, is that what attracts you? Do you want to be heavy in construction, make these things look really beautiful? Do you want to knock everything down and build something brand new? Do you want to buy buildings where you have a lot of maintenance or management here, but you have a bunch of people that's a community that you're trying to improve the community, right? You can win in basically every way of real estate. It just comes down to who are you and how do you want this to fit within your life?
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's good advice for a lot of people, because I think the most confusing part to real estate for some people is there's so many methods, there's so many ways to get involved, and you can do Airbnb, you can flip houses, you can just buy a multi-unit apartment and just hold on to it for 10 years and try to sell it and get the cash flow. And there's so many ways to make money. I think people just get overwhelmed and they don't know how to.
The goal is pick one.
Yeah.
And here's why I say it. Pick anything you just heard. Pick one, because here's what's going to happen. You're either going to find out you like it or find out you don't. And if you find out you don't, you've just eliminated something you shouldn't do, and you go to the next one. Whatever one attracts you first, don't get stuck in a rabbit hole. You learn in 2 years about it, and then all of a sudden you try it out and don't like it. Go try something, right? Put yourself, engage in it, and you may find you like it. But if you don't, then at least you eliminated something that doesn't work. What usually happens is you don't do anything, and you get stuck because you keep trying to find the perfect thing to do, and you'll never do it. And if you just happen to go out there after months or whatever trying it, then you're like, I don't like it. Absolutely. Cut off all the pieces that don't work to get to the part that does work.
Yeah. When you were first learning about real estate and getting involved, were there any books that you read, anything material-wise that got you your education?
Yeah, there's the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You go into Bigger Pockets podcast. There's all kinds of books. There's a Ken McElroy books on apartments. I think like the ABCs to investing. Joe Fairley's got a great book on syndication. There's Jay Scott's got a flipping book, right? So there's massive amount of good real estate books out there. It just goes that when we wanted to go into multifamily, what we had to do is put the blinders on, stop all the noise about all these things of real estate, and find people who did apartment investing and learn what they were doing, right? Because just like you said, I'm going to go apartment investing. And then someone's like, well, you can do tax liens. You're like, oh, that might be cool. And you jump off, right? But we had to get really focused to stay in our lane. And that allowed us to do and have the momentum to where we are today.
Yeah, for sure. And to create wealth in real estate, it's important to scale, buy that first property, and then somehow turn it into like something you have today, 1,100 units, and taking that next step up and up and up, and accumulating more property, more wealth along the way, more cash flow. Investing is really a multiplier game. If you have one unit, you're making X amount of money. You have 2 units, that's doubled. So how can we scale from, let's say we buy a single family home and we're getting we invest in it, we're getting the cash flow every month, we sell it. How can we then move to a 4 unit, to a 10 unit, 100 unit?
Well, the question is, do you want to do that? And that's always the first question, right? Because scaling looks like it could be a cool thing, but maybe you don't want that. Maybe you just want that one rental house, right? And you just let the tenants pay down the loan for years. And all of a sudden at the end of, 20, 30 years, you got a free paid off house, that's worth $500,000, right? But if you do want to scale up, you have to look at what's needed in the resources, because it might be more people, or you might have to find a way that when you're investing here to control your capital or find other sources for capital, right? Because if you say, okay, I'm going to, buy 5 rental properties this year, and you are the only source of capital, and the first one takes all of your liquid money for you to put a down payment on, well, now you have to have some achievable event for that first one to improve, to be able to do some kind of refinance or some kind of liquidity moment where you can bring that capital back out. So you have to look at, okay, if I want to scale, what are the pieces I'm missing? Is it bandwidth? Is it time? Is it money? Right? Is it credit? What do I need to get to that next level? And then you can fill in the gaps from there. But typically, sometimes we put all of our eggs in one basket out of the gate and locks us into a position here that sticks us, which is fine. But then that now gives you different options, and almost sometimes helps because it reduces all the options you can look at. Right. And so then you say, okay, well, maybe I need to have a partner that's liquid or has money, or maybe I have a partner, if I have a full-time job, that can go out there and help with some of the work or help fill the roles. So understanding what are the resources you need that can help you understand how to scale.
Awesome. From all my research, we find that there's pros and cons to every type of investing. From what I found, real estate is one of the strongest. There's many more pros than cons to it. In your opinion, why do you value real estate over maybe stocks, cryptocurrency? And why do we think that, or why is real estate the ultimate investment that can give you more gains and more benefit than a stock or a cryptocurrency?
So basically, like if you buy Apple stock, you basically own a share of Apple, right? But if you don't like their marketing, or you don't like the color of your new iPhone, it's not like you can call them and be like, hey, I got an idea. You can do this. And, why don't you do this? Because I'm an owner, right? But with real estate, you go out there and make active real life improvements to an asset-backed investment. And you're market driven a lot further by crypto, by stocks. And we still have those investments here, but you have to look at a point here is that, if you look at the market right now, or the crypto market is down 20, 30%, right? And so it's going to go up and down, it's going to have swings. And so the unpredictability of the cash flows of the streams of it really sets the narrative. I think if you were hit by the dot-com bust bubble, it took you from 2000 to 2013, if you just stayed in, for you to recover on your losses, right? So if you set yourself up with that analysis of you and your retirement, you might be stuck in a point here where you're not as liquid as you thought you were. However, real estate, noting if you buy correctly, you typically have an asset-backed real estate investment where you can now use leverage against the property, where instead of putting $100 in, I get $100 in Apple, you could put $100 in and get a property worth $400, because now you're leveraging 25 or 75% of the property, putting on good debt for that property where your tenants can pay that down, because it comes not only it's a cash flow asset, has potential for appreciation, can use depreciation, can use debt pay down, have the ability to diversify yourself, whether based on market, right, tenant-based, property-based. So the opportunities are afforded on a lot more levels than where you can pick a stock and hope it goes up, or hope it goes, and or basically trend to capitalize if it goes down. That's kind of your options.
Awesome. Are there any mistakes to avoid when investing in real estate, when taking that first step?
There's trillions, right? Yeah. It just comes down to the point here of you want to put yourself in position to take action without putting yourself in too much of a risk, right? So maybe raising capital out of the gate to go buy a project and you don't know how to underwrite, probably want to do that. Maybe putting all your capital outside and just making an offer without surrounding yourself with the right team, right? So it would be doing unwarranted actions without having the right people around you to help you. So when things go right, they can help push it further. But when things go off track, they can quickly get you back on track.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Get into financial freedom. That's a big part of success to me and many other people. I'm sure you agree. Why is financial freedom important to you?
Well, it just gets back to how do you want to live your life, right? Most of us in life get stuck with what we do as us, but you're not your job. You're not the point, and it can be easily taken away from you, right? So if you think about you and your life, it can literally change by your employer being like, you know what? We're going to close up our Toledo location. So I'm sorry you've worked with us for 25 years, but you could move to Peru. We're going to open up a factory there, but it's going to pay half as much. Or you could just take this little bonus and then, good luck, right? But that you can be exposed to a lot of points here if you don't have the point of being financially free, right? So I think it's something like an astounding number of 70% of Americans don't have $400 if they need it on a rush, right? And if you think about that, it's just overwhelming, right? How many things can you think about that could just come up that could cost $400? You're driving down a road and you hit potholes and literally, pop 3 tires, took everything you have right there. Right. And so now you're putting yourself at more risk and exposing yourself. And most say, oh, I can't get myself out of this, but you just have to look at your daily decisions and say, okay, can I just cut out a little bit of this and start the journey to getting myself in a position to be in a position where I can have the opportunity to achieve financial freedom.
Yeah. So on your journey to financial freedom, why real estate? How has real estate helped you get there?
It was the course that we thought was the best viable product for us. And it's really just, again, a choice. Now, could there be better choices? Potentially. Could there be worse choices? Potentially. But at the moment and at times, you have to make a decision. And the cool thing with this is that, you can do a lot to not only just help yourself, but help others. When we buy an apartment building, it's usually not performing based on whether it's the property or the prior ownership or management, usually a bit of both. So we go in there, make it a better community to live, which makes the tenants have a better place to live, which makes them happier, which allows us to increase the revenue on that property, which helps the investors that partner with us on these properties to be able to get better returns, which overall help the property become a better performing asset, which ultimately helps us. Right. So now you have this triangle effect of all these different parties being helped because we're able to look at something that wasn't being its best and make it better.
Yeah. And it's important to note that when we're talking about financial freedom, a lot of people just talk about, or they're thinking about themselves. Like, okay, how can I make money for me and my family? You and your answer right there, you're showing how you're improving an asset, you're improving a property for someone else, a community, a family. And it's important to remember that when we're trying to create wealth, you have to help other people along the way. You have to provide value for other people. Would you agree?
Absolutely. You think about most short-sighted things, it's because we're looking inside ourselves and forgetting about the effect it has out there. And when you can change the narrative, you'll find that more things open up when you're not so driven on, can I get for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, I have 3 more quick questions for you. But before we get to those, can you plug your social medias, your website, whatever you want people to be redirected to after?
Yeah. So as you said, Instagram is Jason Yarusi. Clean as that is YARUSI. You go over to our real estate website to hear more about our company, our mastermind. That is yarusiholdings.com. And that's the best place to find everything about us.
Awesome. We will make sure everything is in the show notes. So you guys make sure you check that out after the episode. Jason, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Honestly, family, right? It's great to watch them grow and it grows quickly. And I don't have time to waste.
Yeah.
Right. So that is the thing that gets me up moving each and every day.
Great answer. How do you define success?
Honestly, it's just what I can set right for my kids to put them in a position, not to give them everything, but put them in a position to make great decisions for themselves.
Awesome. I like that. And lastly, we talked about a lot today, real estate, mindset, fitness. What are 1 to 2 steps of action we can take today to become closer to being successful?
Think about what you don't want and think about why you don't have it and think about why you're telling yourself you don't have it. And then change your wording to say, well, why can't I? Why can't it be me? Why not me? Why not now? How can I? Change your wording and you'll change your life.
Great answer. I love that. Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been great. Great questions.
Again, a big shout out to Jason Yarusi for joining the Define Success podcast. This is the first podcasts that we had dedicated strictly to real estate. We had Mike McCarthy on before with GoBundance. He has a real estate empire as well. So if you want to go check out Mike McCarthy's episode, please go check that out. We talked a little bit about real estate tips. And then also Jose Velny, which was pretty recent back in January. But we also talked about marine. So this one was pretty much dedicated strictly to real estate, more educational, based about the industry and how to get involved in the investment. So I hope you all enjoyed it. There was a lot of value, a lot of gems dropped. So whether you were taking notes, having snippets or going back and listening later, there is a lot of actionable steps that we can all take, whether you want to improve your mindset, your fitness, or start investing your money properly and getting some money into real assets such as real estate property. My biggest takeaway from my conversation with Jason was you have to learn. You have to educate yourself and find what is best for you. Like we mentioned, there are many, many different methods of real estate. You can get involved in the industry in many different ways, whether that is buying a home for an Airbnb rental, whether that is buying a duplex and you're finding tenants from two different families, whether you're buying a massive apartment building of 32 units, or you're buying a single family home and filling that with one family. Whatever it is, you have to find what speaks to you. Real estate can be profitable in any single way, but you have to know what you're doing and you have to do it properly. There are also many resources out there that you can give your money to people who are doing real estate at a high scale and kind of invest it like a stock. You have shares in their property. I want to redirect you all to Cardone Capital with Grant Cardone. This is not a paid promotion. This is something that I invest my money in because I trust what he's doing in the real estate market. And I think it is a great way for me to get involved without having to manage property myself on my own time. So if you go to cardonecapital.com, set up an account, the minimum deposit is just $1,000. Very easy, very simple, minimal paperwork, and you can start getting involved in real assets as soon as possible and get some cash flow every single quarter. So I urge you all to take some action, whether you invest your money right now, whether you start to research properties, or you just start to read more books, watch more videos about the real estate industry. Now is the time to get involved. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Define Success podcast. Please, before we head out, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Helps a lot, and it makes sure that every single episode downloads to your phone every Monday, every Wednesday, so you're prepared and ready to get your weekly dose of success. That's going to do it for this episode of the Define Success podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with someone that you love and spread success to those around you. Please throw it in your Instagram story. Spread the word. Tag us. I would love to see that you were getting value out of this. Remember, success is not something that happens overnight. You made a great decision to spend your time with us today, and I hope you feel closer to being successful. Success requires stacking small wins every day, and today is a great day to win.